Please warmly welcome Pastor Itwa for his opening remarks. Welcome, sir.
Well, God bless you all, the Matriarch cycle, and welcome to this inaugural meeting. I want to congratulate you for thinking through this, what I think will be a life-transforming circle for not only Nigeria, but Africa. Let me remind you that the word is Africa Leadership Group of the TriAfrica Foundation. And what we want to do is to influence good leadership, sound leadership, wonderful leadership across Africa. So the vision is quite big, and we do intend, by His grace, to fulfill it in our lifetime and hand over to the next generation. I believe the Matriarch cycle has evolved naturally out of the support that we have received from a lot of very distinguished and outstanding women, a lot of whom have freely volunteered their time, their energy, their resource into driving various aspects of the African Leadership Group. And also, one of the benefits and outcomes from this ever popular after party that has developed a life of its own and is yielding and bringing forward very many different kinds of things from the African Leadership Group. So we're thankful that what started as a little tiny snowflake is of almost becoming a big ice avalanche. And we're hoping that the matriarch cycle can actually transform female leadership across Africa. We're hoping so. We're hoping that it can also be a movement that will bring an end to various forms of discrimination and against women and non-recognition of the power and the potential of women folk. We're hoping that it can bring out courage and boldness from among our women and give them that strength, determination, and competitive edge to take their place and run organizations and run nations. I am a product of an African matriarch. Her name was Musumola Felicia Folayegbe Akitunde Igodalo. She was married to a gentleman called Jeremiah Igodalo and added the Akitunde to her name to give herself her own identity and drive forward the leadership and emancipation of the African woman. She was disciplined, she was tough, she was fearless, she was courageous, she was focused, she was determined, she was hardworking, but she was also extremely kind and loving. And she proved to me that what a man can do, a woman can do much, much better. And therefore, I am pleased to inaugurate the matriarch circle in the hope and belief that there will be discipline, there will be focus, there will be determination, there will be brilliance, there will be a turnaround, there will be growth and development. We do not want a talk shop. We want something that will bring out actionable plans, things that we can work on, no matter how small, and begin to make little changes that will become transformational events. We want something that after every meeting, there are definite takeaways that we will implement and we will drive our women and albeit our continent into the foreground of leadership and be a big influence on the men and also help men themselves to become who they really should be. So the vision must be clear, the milestones must be determined, the actions must be simple and relevant, and there must be a tracking system to make sure that we're going in the right direction and we don't lose steam, we don't get frustrated, we don't get discouraged, and we don't waste time. God bless you all. I want to thank the movers and shakers of this circle, and I pray that you continue to motivate yourself and be very enthused to do that which is absolutely necessary at this time. Thank you very much. Have a very good evening.
Thank you so much, sir, for those inspiring opening remarks.
Tonight's theme is Women of Impact, Navigating Cultural and Societal Hoodies.
And truly, there could not be a more relevant conversation for the times that we live in.
Our panelists this evening are women whose journey, work, and impact continues to shape conversations, institutions, and communities in a meaningful way. Let's introduce each one of them. Professor Adenike Grange is a renewed pediatrician, global health leader, and the founder CEO of Ade Grange Child Foundation, dedicated to improving maternal, child, and family health in underserved communities. A lifelong champion of children's rights, she has shaped national health policy and expanded access to quality care. As Minister of Health, she led key reforms that strengthened primary health care, advanced maternal and child health, expanded national systems for communicable disease control. Through her foundation, she continues to drive impactful initiatives in health education, vaccination, rural health care development, and youth empowerment, earning recognition as respected voice in global health and child advocacy. She continues to serve the nation passionately through various programs, advocacy organizations such as the TriAfrican Empowerment Foundation. She is currently the chair of the Nigerian Diaspora Collaboration for Change, among many others.
We are so honored to have you here, Ma. Our second panelist today is Professor Fatima Akilu, who is a honorary professor at the African Leadership Center. She's a leading practitioner on the center's Practice of Leadership program. She's the executive director of NIM Foundation Nigeria, and also a university educator and an advocate for marginalized groups, and has worked in the area of psychology and health for more than 2 decades. She has had extensive experience working with women forensic patients with multiple disabilities and co-occurring mental health conditions, violent offenders, and sex offenders. Prior to this, she was the head of communication for the Senior Special Assistant to the President on the Millennium Development Goals. She was also chairman of the editorial board, Leadership Newspapers. Until recently, Professor Fatima Akilu was the director of the Behavioral Analysis and Strategic Communication Unit at the Office of National Security Advisor, which has developed a multi-pronged approach to countering violent extremism, CVE. This consists of freezing de-radicalization, counter-radicalization geared at building community resilience and strategic communication efforts, including public diplomacy and messaging. Nigeria's CVE program, which she designed, also includes policy changes in the areas of education and mental health through the provision of post-traumatic stress disorder counseling. She's also a children's writer and hosted a weekly radio show called Radio Psych, which discusses social and psychological issues. She holds a bachelor's degree in English a master's in research methods in psychology, and a PhD in psychology from Reading University in Berkshire. She has authored more than 17 children's books and has published articles on homelessness and mental health.
We're honored to have you, Ma. Auntie Yemisi Ransome-Kuti is a Nigerian educator, social development advocate, and civil society leader known for her pioneering work in strengthening Nigeria's non-profit sector. She is the founder of the Nigerian Network of NGOs, the first coalition for civil society organizations in country, established to promote accountability, collaboration, and national development. The matriarch of the historic Ransome-Kuti family, Auntie Yemisi continues a multi-generational legacy of activism and public service. Her work spans gender empowerment, poverty reduction, youth development, and policy advocacy. She has served as a civil society advisor to the World Bank, contributing to Nigeria's efforts towards the Millennium Development Goals. Auntie Yemisi is also the founder of Girl Watch, an initiative supporting the education of young girls from underserved communities. She remains an influential voice in Nigeria's third sector and a custodian of her family, ensuring commitment to justice and social progress.
We are deeply honored to have you, Auntie Yemisi.
It's
and
wonderful.
last but not Thank you, Ma. And last but not the least, we have Mrs. Marian Mogalu, who is a lawyer, a social entrepreneur, and a passionate advocate for education, literacy, leadership development, and social impact. She's the beautiful wife of Professor Kingsley Chiedu Mogalu, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party in the 2019 Nigerian presidential election. A woman of grace, purpose, and quiet strength, Mrs. Mogalu has committed her work to empowering individuals and communities through access to learning, skills development, and transformational leadership opportunities. She serves as the executive director of the Isaac Mogalu Foundation, an organization dedicated to promoting literacy, advancing education, supporting skill acquisition, and nurturing the next generation of leaders. Through her work, she continues to champion initiatives that expand opportunity, inspire personal growth, and equip people with the tools they need to live more productive, dignified, and impactful lives. Her life and service reflect a deep commitment to family, nation building, and the belief that education remains one of the most powerful instruments for individual and societal transformation. We're very honored to have you, Ma. Thank you so much for being here. To begin, we would love to hear briefly from each of our panelists about their personal journeys and why conversations like this matter to them.
We'll invite each speaker to share a reflection for approximately 5 minutes, please.
Okay, I think we'll start with Mrs. Mogalu. Please go ahead, Ma. Hello, ma'am. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma, we can.
Okay. Okay, I thought I was going to go last so that we can hear from from our true matriarchs, but I'm honored to be here in their midst, and I thank you very much for inviting me. So having listened to all the citations, I think I'm the only one who was described with my husband's. And perhaps there's a good reason for that, because I think I come from a totally different perspective from the rest of the panelists who have had very distinguished public careers. Whereas I am what you might call a housewife. Yeah, but I think that that's an important aspect of being, a woman. It brings the total, it rounds it up nicely, because we all can't be, career women. But having said that, I think in my case, I did start as a career person. I worked in the bank for several years before I got married. But when I met my husband, one of the things that he said to me was that because of his career, he was then in the United Nations, and it required a little bit of moving around if you wanted to climb up in your career. So he did ask me that, would I be willing to give up my career for a while for him to be able to do this? And first of all, I thought that was really honorable of him, because most men would get you and then hit you with the, the big ask. But I thought it was really honorable of him, because I went into that relationship making an informed choice that, yeah, this is something I want to do, and this is something that I can do. Because in the conversation about women and choices, we often don't remember that that can actually be a choice that a woman decides to make. And I think that that also should be encouraged and honored, as long as that choice has been made without coercion or deceit, and it is something that the person has themselves, because we do have to nurture the men who lead, and be in a place to bring up the children that will become leaders. So we did. So I made that decision, but that didn't stop me from developing myself, because many times people think that being a stay-at-home mom means you should put up your legs and not do anything. We moved from country. We lived probably in 6 or 7 different countries, but all that while, I ensured that I developed myself. I am a lawyer by my background is I read law, worked in the bank, but when we moved, I decided that I could find other ways to fulfill myself while raising my kids. So I did get I became a certified project manager. I said, just in case I'm somewhere that I can do that without necessarily interfering with our original plan. We had a foundation that we were about to set up. So I went to Duke University and I got a certificate in nonprofit management. I registered for a master's in public administration at SOAS. So I did a lot of things that, even though I was a stay-at-home mom, I didn't lose sight of who I was as a person, or who I could be in the future when that stage of my life was over. So I do encourage, women to feel free and be, not be afraid to make choices that are good for them first and foremost, without regard to, what other people think. As long as those choices are, going to lead into a productive life as well, I think that that's an option that, women should be allowed to make without being stigmatized. Yeah, thank you.
Said. Thank you so much, Ma. Over to you, Auntie Yemisi.
So good to be with you guys. Once again, thank you, Jumoke. We must always thank Jumoke first, though, because her energy is what has driven us all into this space.
Amazing.
Thank you, Jumoke. And thank you, Pastor Itwa Ighodalo. I mean, giving us, our men, trusting us and giving us the space to glow and spread and impact wherever we can is something that we must celebrate always. Thank you, Pastor Itwa, and the team of ALG for giving Jumoke the wings to fly, to create this wonderful circle that we're all enjoying. And When Pastor Itwa speaks, you just kind of want to rush out and start doing what he has preached on the platform when he was speaking about us going out into the world and to Africa and changing things. I thought of, let's just forget the talking. Let's just go out into our neighborhood and start telling and preaching the good news and the word of change, of reform, of peace, of love, and all those wonderful things he said. Thank you, Pastor Istwa, always leading the right thoughts and energies to drive us where we should be as human beings. And let me thank Maria and Mogalu for starting off with that space that is often ignored, often deprecated. Oh, what are you? Oh, I'm only a housewife. Or who are you? Oh, I'm just a mother looking after the children. As if that's probably ignoring the fact that it's probably the most important job in the world, to actually produce and develop other human beings. And that's what women do. And this forum has given us that opportunity to just chat about it, to not make it like a thesis or a very academic exercise. We've come together as sisters and mothers and aunts and friends to share our experience in ways that would elevate every one of us. And her talking about her choice of being a housewife really struck a chord with me, because that's what I had to do as well at some point. I had a family that is so active, and it's not active in a private space. The Ransom Kuti exploits are global stories. So stepping out of the limelight for a bit was a choice I made because Professor Ransom Kuti, who was Professor Grange's kind of mentor and boss at some point, and I'm sure impacted her life tremendously, was on my neck saying, you must not allow your child to eat anything but your breast milk. That you cannot even give your child water to drink, ordinary water to drink. He or she must be breastfed till they can go straight from milk to ordinary, solids. So here was struggling with this larger than life personality in the family telling me that, okay, we know you are working career, you are in Shell, you are the group personnel manager. You've just come back from something in the UK and blah, 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 and The Hague and all those things that Shell was doing in terms of impacting Nigerian economy. When you have children, you have to stay at home and breastfeed them. So I tried to do both to start with, working and breastfeeding, but the breast milk dried up because of the stress of rushing home, feeding the child, coming back. So I took that decision to be a housewife at a point. But being in the kind of family that I was born into, sometimes you don't have a choice in these things. You're just dumped into the family. And whatever the ethos of your family, the culture of your family, the philosophy of your family becomes yours, and you have to deal with it. So being a housewife did not exempt me or exonerate me from continuing to be part of that revolutionary kind of spirit that we had as a family. So while I was also supposed to be a housewife, I was writing to the Queen of England, telling her that I'm going to relinquish the MBE that was given to my father if they did not intervene in the war that we were kind of leading up to with the MKO Abiola. And I think you all remember how tense that period was. Nigeria was at the brink of total chaos. And I wrote to the Queen and told her I would publicly relinquish my father's MBE if the British government did not intervene. And they came to Nigeria. At that point, they issued bans against government officers arriving in the UK. There was a lot of action that was taken quietly that pulled us back from the brink. And from a lot of the activities I was kind of engaged with Beko, Femi Falana, Gani Fawehimi, to try and steady the ship of the country. I'm glad that much of it turned out very well in terms that, we actually did step back from the brink. But I also experienced the fact that even as a Ransom Kuti, and having a Formulaire Ransom Kuti credential right there, the men still did not listen to much of what I said, because it's a culture that we have accepted in our country, that women, okay, they're good, they're nice, they can have children, we permit them, but when they are giving us warnings, we do not take it seriously. And one of the things I was very, very adamant about was that all the activists, the Femi, the Gani, what's the name of the naval chap that was also part of our group? There are quite a number of them. You all remember them. I kept focusing on what is the alternative? If we get rid of the military, do we have an organization like they did in South Africa, the ANC? Are we grooming some political experts and individuals that would step in when the military left? Oh, they told me that I shouldn't worry, Nigerians would take care of it, it would just happen. And I think part of the challenge we have in Nigeria at the moment is that when the military left, we did not have a group of Nigerians that stepped in to the breach and were able to handle the state affairs in such a way that we could have avoided, because a lot of people that stepped in, I'm sure you would all agree with me, were not those who had the capacity to do so. And we've been struggling with it at the moment. So the work that Marian talked about, that work of nurturing the nation, the work that Jumoke is really wanting to urge us, the work that Pastor Ighodalo is speaking about, is how we now step into the breach. Is this now a clarion call to respect all women? Those women that are selling akara on the streets, those women that are artisans in the mines, those women in different levels of both small, medium enterprise and whatever it is they may be doing. This is the time for all of us women to engage and come together and steer the ship of our nation towards peace, justice, and development. Thank you all for being here and having us to have this wonderful conversation that we need to have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie, for that powerful charge. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mommy Grange.
Thank you, Chioma. My dear fellow queen mothers, queens, and princesses. First of all, let me thank you, Chioma, for making me last, because I don't have to repeat all that has been said before. Thank you. I want to thank Pastor Ighodalo. I've been trying to think of just how to describe him because of his unusual approach to women's issues. I think I would like to call him an ideal feminized leader of leaders. And he told us today how he became feminized with his mother, So I think he deserves that, he's one of us, females, male, female. Queen Jumoke, also, I would like to describe as a courageous, masculinized queen. Thank you very much for arranging this. And Chioma and Miss Yadwa, yes? Thank you so much. I know you put in a lot to make this happen. The day has finally arrived when we must speak truth to power, when we must commit ourselves to speak the truth and nothing but the truth about our lives as women who have overcome sociocultural barriers that limited the attainment of our life goals in real time. Let me digress a little bit and thank Mrs. Mogalu for that fantastic presentation of your life, which illustrates what women have to give up, had to give up in those days, and they still have to give up to be the ideal complement of the so-called head of the family. You know, I think, the way you described how you actually manage that position is a great, great model for many women. Thank you very much. Some of us have had to do that also, but only partially, just maybe for a few years, and then we went back to our profession. So, on my part, I shall approach my narrative with a peep at the childhood period, because it is during the childhood period, especially from 0 to 6 years, that the ingredients for developing the character of an adult are formed. These ingredients include a sustainable physical environment, and appropriate feeding for the survival and development of the child, starting in early infancy with breastfeeding. Queen Yemisi, thank you very much for breastfeeding. It also requires a balanced, nurturing, and psychosocial environment. These conditions must be maintained uninterruptedly throughout childhood and adolescence to ensure that the individual will develop the ideal level of resilience. Let me emphasize resilience, because this is really what what we had to make use of as adult females, to cope with the demands of adapting to sociocultural barriers and professional hurdles in adult life. Again, I want to thank Mrs. Mogalu for illustrating that the childhood period is very, very important, and she had to give up quite a lot to devote her time to the children. Because I grew up with this notion that maternal nurturing inputs are essential for the balanced development of children, nurturing became a priority task which had to take precedence over my professional aspirations. Later, during my pediatric practice, which did not start until 10 years after my husband had gone in for his specialty. 10 years. So I had that 10 years of sacrifice, which I don't regret at all. Seeing what my children have turned into. This notion was then enhanced because I've seen the result, the impact on the children. At the juncture of having to balance family life with professional duty, the cultural expectation of the extreme dichotomy of the roles of the mother and father in the home began to rear its ugly head. I thought I should bring this forward because without the resilience in the woman, this is where things fall apart. I don't think I need to say any more about this, because this situation has been experienced by so many of us, all professional, practically all professional and business women who work outside the home. The support systems are quite challenging. They were challenging then, and they are still very challenging now. And those systems are usually exclusively under the purview of the women. So, you have support system, but you still have to spend time supervising the support system. Otherwise, it will just go wrong. Working in an office at home only became accessible to some women since the COVID pandemic. So we can say that this unintended consequence of the pandemic is to the advantage of some working women. In spite of all the hurdles on the way, I rose through the rank to be all the all the positions that have been narrated to you. I don't have to repeat them. The fact that I was working in a highly demanding profession of medicine made the situation more demanding of the application of good judgment when considering my priorities in balancing my psychosocial health with my innate need to achieve my professional goals. So there were two things to factor into this, the health of the family, health of children and family, and my psychosocial health. Most times, we women do not actually, we forget about our psychosocial health. And of course, it takes a toll on us later on in life. So this requires a good grounding in the knowledge of the short and long-term effects of choices, the choices that are made. This is where mentorship by predecessors in the profession play a huge role in achievement of some kind of a balance. When I talk of mentorship for myself, there were very few women ahead of me in my profession at the time that I needed to be mentored. So I was mentored by both male and female. Of course, the men were able to pass on knowledge and skills and sense of duty and all that. But the female were the ones that were able to help me to consider the psychosocial aspects of my health and also the family. Now, it is important for the present generation to seek mentoring intentionally and for mentors to actively commit to mentor the younger generations. It is also important that mentors should diversify their areas of knowledge and skills, as well as to continue with their own self-development. That is why I am with ALG, Jumoke, to continue to develop myself in all the other areas, which I could not do when I was in medicine. A motivational factor for me to mentor in those days, and even now, is the fact that the world is becoming a global village where I, my children, or grandchildren may one day need the services of someone that I had gladly given up some of my time to mentor. There is at least a chance that he or she will give back the service with the knowledge, skills, moral, and ethical values that were acquired partly through my own effort. Let me conclude by telling you a true story which illustrates just this fact. My husband, now late, was hospitalized in 2015 for his terminal illness in a hospital in a suburb of Chicago in the US. One day, one of the visiting medical consultants called me aside and said to me that he had been looking for an opportunity to tell me this, that My husband, Dr. Jerry Grange, was one of his teachers at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. And he recalled his disciplined but humorous way of teaching and the fact that he was always on time. This was at the time when Luth used to take in international students. I think you may remember that time before, when South Africa was having all its problems. And this fellow, this consultant, was from South Africa as a student in the University of Lagos. What a reversal of fate and role of Nigeria in the world is today. What a reversal of fate. Before I make my final statement about what we should do, I believe that I need to I need to thank my past mentors, Professor Olukoya Ransom Kuti, Dr. Awuli, Dr. Mrs. Awuli was my first female mentor in medicine. Professor Mrs. Elebute, and so many of them that contributed to my development in those days. Now, we must take Nigeria back as the country with the most resourceful physical and human capital in Africa. This requires a commitment as resourceful women to put on our regal toga and begin again to align the progress of our youths with the huge physical and human resources with which Nigeria is endowed. Some of us may have little time left to do this, but many of us still have a long time to do this. And I urge you to rally round the Matriarch circles. If I'm having difficulty calling Matriarch, my dear, we must be ready to get all sorts of pronunciations from out there. The circles of Grace of Matriarchs. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mami Grange, for that interesting and much needed perspective. Thank you. Last but not the least, Queen Professor Fatima Akilu. Over to you, Ma.
Thank you so much. It indeed is very intimidating going after three such powerful speakers. I would like to also start by really thanking ALG for the amazing work that you do. And this is a very special platform. I'm so honored that I've been asked to speak on this platform. And my thanks to Pastor Ighodalo for all the work you do for our country. And of course, Jumoke, for your support and friendship and for always pushing us to do more. What really struck me with the three main speakers is talking about the multiple sacrifices that women have to make all the time, navigating so many different spaces. I think all three speakers mentioned that in various ways. Yemisi, I appreciated what you said about how women are often silenced and dismissed and not heard. And also, Mrs. Moghalu, I was really struck by your presentation, because you started by saying that you are a housewife, but you are a lawyer, a banker, a project manager, you run a foundation. I mean, these are amazing things in addition to being a housewife. And these are the things that women do and carry. And I often think it ties into what we say about having women sometimes diminishing themselves, or society requires us to diminish all our achievements in a way that men are not expected to. I also appreciated the mentioning by Professor Grange of psychosocial health. Women suffer disproportionately because we just carry so much more stress, especially women in leadership roles. So that's a really important thing. So my own journey, I think is a little bit unconventional. And the reason I say that is because my father was the first person in his family to be educated. And the consequence of that education meant that my life was completely different. So my father was educated, therefore all his children were educated. My father was Muslim. He married a Christian woman, Fulani, my mother. So we had a very unconventional household. My father died when I was 6. So I've also never truly experienced what it's like to live in a house with a father and a mother, and assigned roles or gender assigned roles where the mother performs one role and the father performs another. My most significant memories actually are of my mother going out to work, my grandmother coming to live with us. My grandmother also lost her husband when she was young. She also went out to work. And then I had my auntie who lived with us who was in the military. So that's been my formative experience of women leaders, women in the workplace, and women who were fearless. I thought that all households were like that. When I started my career, I chose to go into psychology. Psychology is very female dominated as a profession. And my supervisor was female. When I started work, a lot of my bosses tended to be female. So I just thought women just get on, you work, and that's what you do. It's not till maybe recently, like in the last, not so recent, in the last 2 decades that I began to think about the place of the woman in society and the place of a woman in the workplace. And why is it that there's such a ceiling everywhere for women? I say that most of my bosses were women, but even in psychology, the people who are at the very top tend to be men. So there's always a ceiling where women somehow, perhaps part of it is because we're also expected, if we have children, to leave the workplace and take care of kids. So we lose some years, which men don't have to do. But it's also because of the way that society really restricts the role of women in the workplace. And also, I started thinking more recently about what exactly is leadership. So, Pastor Itwa, you started about the traits that your mother had: disciplined, tough, courageous, determined. A lot of these traits tend to be somehow masculinized in our society, where women feel, okay, if I'm not courageous, I'm not tough, I might not be able to ascribe to leadership. But you also said that your mother was kind, loving, compassionate. So now we as women, do we have to imbibe traits that we see in the workplace that are usually traits that men have used to lead? Or can we lead in a different way? What should female leadership look like? Should we have to change ourselves to be elevated in those spaces where we've always been shrunk? Can you be empathetic? Can you be compassionate? Can you have a lot of integrity and also lead? Are these soft traits that are assigned to women? And the reason why it's become more important is that if you look around the world, a lot of female leaders have struggled. Jacinda Ardern resigned from her post because she said that when she tried to be empathetic and show compassion, she was laughed at. People thought of her as weak. And I've heard other women leaders also say the same thing. So I think my call to this group is, what should female leadership look like? Can we be ourselves and lead in a male-dominated world? Because the world of work is still male-dominated. I know that now it's evening out with so many young girls that are educated. What message should we, because this is an intergenerational conversation, what message should we be impacting to the younger generation? And for you, the younger generation, what do you want to hear from us as you navigate this world of work? So I'd like to stop there. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Ma. Wow. Thank you all for those really, really powerful reflections. Amina?
One thing already clear from tonight is that impacts rarely happens without intentionality, sacrifice, resilience, and support.
So now we're going to move into the panel conversation proper.
Professor Grange, I would like to begin with you. Over the years, women have often had to navigate systems and structures not originally designed with them in mind. What cultural barriers and professional hurdles have you personally had to navigate throughout your journey as a woman leader?
Thank you very much for that question. I think what I'm about to say is very common to most women leaders of my profession and my time. And that is to say that the major factor then that I experienced was that there were few of us women, and we were often not recognized as being very, I would say, relevant to the issues at hand. Apart from the direct professional service, the issue of development, we were not taken into consideration until, of course, later when I went by the global route. I had to make myself relevant in global and professional politics, and then I became more relevant at home. So I believe that it was discriminatory. It is still discriminatory, but we felt it more because there were very few of us. Now, at least, more of us could come together and fight the loss of rights that we had. Now, let's move from the profession. You see, leadership takes place at home, in the profession, and then in the public arena, and in politics. I think gradually we women have managed to overcome the limitations gradually in the public arena. But in politics, of course, we are still far behind, And the reasons are not they're not far-fetched, because we don't have that much time to devote to other matters outside our home and our profession. So, whereas the men are free to engage in everything. So I believe that what we suffered then was a gross limitation of upward movement to the leadership position. I remember, as a professor, it took me like 15 years to become a professor, whereas a man, it will take like 6, 7 years, So, that was that, but one just had to go systematically and know that the reason is that you are having to cope with both home and the profession. Yeah. Now, our younger ones, seem to be able to navigate better, I would say. They seem to be able to, but I don't know if the mechanisms they are using is to just to their own advantage or to the advantage of the family, taking everything into consideration. I believe that the present generation is beginning to feel that, you need to put yourself first before others. That, of course, is going to interfere with the way we have always thought that women should, they make better leaders in some aspects when they can express themselves as empathetic human beings. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to correct. Did you say 15 or 50 years?
When did I? Okay. 15 years. 15. 15.
15.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. No, 50. If it
Thank you
was
so
50
much.
years, I wouldn't make it at all. So
Yeah,
it's
that's why
15 years.
I
Yes.
had to
Yes.
ask. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
But
you
it's
so
a
much,
big
Ma.
bite out of my lifespan.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Professor Akilu, identity. I want to talk about identity, because we know that it's such an important part of leadership, especially for women navigating multiple expectations. How did you maintain your identity, your values, and traditions while pursuing your personal and professional goals?
Thank you for that question. I think that's always difficult for women, really trying to juggle multiple roles, multiple identities, and also the expectation is that if we choose a career, then and we want to have a child, then we should be able to do it all. And in reality, nobody can do it all. We do it with multiple support systems and with a lot of stress. And stuff. And I think when we look at also the cultural identity, I come from the North. I'm Muslim. There are certain expectations which has changed a lot, thankfully, in recent times about what a role of a woman should be. I work in communities across the North where it's very patriarchal, and a lot of men don't allow their daughters or their wards to go to school still today, and they don't allow their wives to go to work. So it's very difficult to see that. Whereas it's not been my experience, as I explained, only because I had the opportunity, because of my mother, mainly to push myself in certain spaces. It's only now that I begin to realize how hard it is and how many identities women have to hold and how many spaces they have to navigate in order to pursue, whether it's a passion, whether it's a profession, or whether it's a purpose that's not, society doesn't subject men to the same complex, I don't think. So I'm not sure that I'm answering your identity question very well, but I think it's hard. I think women will always juggle multiple spaces in the way that men do not. And I think many things remain close to women simply because we're women. For example, I worked in the newspaper, a leadership newspaper, but at that time, there had never been a female editorial board chair. And people didn't think that that role a woman could do. And I'm not quite sure why it's so difficult. If a woman has the training, the same experience, the intelligence, why should... So we kind of reserve certain spaces for certain genders. And these are things that I'm always navigating in the later half of my career. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Akilu. And hear me say, resilience is a word we hear often, but lived resilience looks different for every woman. What does resilience mean to you personally? And what pivotal societal expectations or pressure did you have to overcome?
Thank you, Amina, and Choma, for blasting us with these thought-provoking questions that we had thought we had put in the past somewhere quietly, and we could now get on with our old age. But for the sake of others, we're very happy to dig into the past and try and remember what it was like to be in that space when everything was like on top of you. You were dealing with home, you were dealing with career. I had started, as I said earlier, I became a housewife, but I started my own business. So women had actually started living the post-COVID lifestyle way before it became cool to work from home and to develop careers that fitted in with looking after children, taking your children to work with you. I had a nanny full-time whose job was just to carry my child after me everywhere, whether it's a conference, a party, or wherever. That was her job. I still did all the feeding, all the bathing, everything that a mother needed to do, but I needed an extra pair of hands. And that's what I employed. So resilience comes with that adaptability of the woman. I think we're very adaptive creatures, maybe more flexible than the men. Because in real time, nature has made it so that we have to be. I think women became who they were because they were confronted with situations that they needed to solve, problems that they needed to solve, that men don't have to be. They don't have to consider such issues. They wake up and all that's in their mind is that contract, that dealing with whatever problem is at work, because every other thing is sorted. The food, the cleaning, the this and that, scheduling the children and all of that. So we women have had to, over time, become this master at everything, commanding all the sectors, being the one that organizes, the one that is an excellent chef, is a brilliant doctor, because she's the first one to respond when there's an illness or some issue that affects the health of the children or anybody in the home. So we're very adaptive, we're multitasking. Nature has evolved us into these beings who can just do about everything. But of course, we're constrained because we're not superhuman. We only have 2 legs and 2 arms like everybody else and 1 brain. So your resilience has to mean that you understand that life is a problem-solving exercise. As a woman, you have to, first of all, come from a place where you are always learning, always trying to understand the situation, not from some theory somewhere, but from the reality of what it is that has to be faced. So you have to understand those problems and be a person that responds with solutions, not with lamentation. Oh, why me? Who's doing this to me? Which witch or wizard or whoever? Is it the colonial master that disrupted us? Is it the military that's created our problem? The politicians, terrible people. Okay, whether they are or not, the reality is that there's a problem at hand and you got to solve it. So you have to be someone who's able to do that. That makes you resilient. When the problem comes, as you grow older, you become someone, your brain, your whatever intuitive, spiritual, and cognitive elements within you kick in if you begin to practice that problem-solving attitude to life. And you don't become overwhelmed when it comes. You don't go into a complete tease and, go a little crazy and don't know what to do. No, your brain has to come down to ground zero and say, this is a problem. How do I solve it? So your resilience has to come with that ability to get with the program, stop lamenting, and, be the better person and learn the skills. Often what that challenge is, you don't have the skills to deal with it. So you have to quickly learn where do I get the knowledge. Mrs. Mogalu was telling us about all the different courses and whatever she went. All of us have gone through that. I'm not going to enumerate mine, but to be able to deal with life, you need to get that capacity. So you need to learn. You need to go find the knowledge that will make you better able to deal with it, maybe that when that problem reoccurs. So learning critical thinking skills and other problem-solving skills, to me, is critical for you to be able to be a resilient person. You cannot be resilient if you don't have answers to whatever problems comes your way. So learning, always learning, picking up, and I pick up from anywhere. It doesn't have to be like a, university something where you go and, sit an exam. It's about just learning, listening to what everybody's saying around you. Your child may say something that actually provides a solution to something that was appeared to be very, very complex. So being somebody who listens always, and you're not judgmental. You don't say, I only listen to Professor somebody. No, you can, anybody, everybody. And I believe in the universe responding when I need, because the answers will come to you if you trust the universe and you trust that solutions are out there and you will get your answers if you're open-minded enough, not judgmental, and you learn the capacity to unravel and come to those solutions. And very importantly, to be a resilient person, you must find and enjoy the oasis of joy, fun, and laughter when you get them. Because there may just be a few days when you have a break and things are going well before another set of problems come. So learn to have fun and learn to laugh. Learn not to take yourself too seriously and keep trucking. And remember, Ojo Kul Ojo Simi. Problems will come all the days of your life. So enjoy it when it comes, learn to deal with it, and find, like a little child, that joy and laughter in just being alive and not taking things too seriously and enjoying any little opportunity you have to just count your blessings. So that, to me, is what resilience has been for me. And I hope it's helpful to the rest of you as well. Thank you.
And it's solving problems like that. What's entirely
problem.
So,
your audio is breaking off. Do you want to turn up your video?
That would help. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Network will spoil our shy. All right. I was speaking to Mrs. Mogalu. I want to understand what support systems help you overcome your challenges and accomplish your dream.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Just before I answer that, though, I wanted to say a little bit about, to complement what Dr. Akilu had said about dignity in accomplishing your goals. Just like on a, she did talk, about personal stuff, but I just wanted to make a little comment about just generally, as a woman, in maintaining dignity while pursuing your goals. So I think the first thing I would say would be to be very authentic, and try not to over-conform to your environment. Don't try too much to conform to your environment. Identify your core values and then set reasonable boundaries to maintain these values, and prioritize character. Success isn't just about success, but how that success is achieved. And obviously, women are always, considered to be erratic and, emotional and all that. So part of maintaining dignity as you, grow on or pursue your dreams is to be, measured in your reactions, whether it's to correction or criticism or even disrespect, so that you're not considered, you don't get too emotional or when you're responding to those sort of things. But coming to the question that you posed, which is what support system that I relied on to accomplish my dreams. So as I said, I am or was a stay-at-home mom, but that didn't stop me from wanting to improve myself or do things to run a business to make some money for myself. So one of the things that I would talk about was when we lived in Tanzania. My husband was with the ICTR, the International Tribunal for the Genocide in Rwanda. And when we first got there, one of the things they said was that spouses obviously couldn't work or be employed by the tribunal. And so being the Igbo woman that I am, I'm like, this new place that we've come to, what can I do, to fill my time and, make some income? And then I've always been somebody who is very, very particular about my nails. And one of the, things that I noticed when we got there were no places you could do a manicure or a pedicure or, we had to drive 3 hours to Nairobi to get a pedicure or a manicure, or somebody came from Dar es Salaam, which was 6 hours away once a month. And I said to myself, this is quite an opportunity. But now the challenge is my husband is like, oh no, you have 2 children who are under 5, you have a baby that is 9 months, how are you going to, how do you want to leave those, the things you're supposed to be doing and, start looking for how to. So I said, who is going to look after the baby or the children while you're concentrating on all this? I said, okay, support system. My mother-in-law was coming to visit. So I said, who better to look after your children than your mother? Except you're saying she's not capable. So as soon as she arrived, I told him I'm off. I'm going to learn to be a nail technician because I want to open a nail studio here in Arusha. So your mother can take care of the children. So that's basically an example of using what is immediately available to you. I always say that your support system are those that are immediate. The closest people to you, family and friends, are the first avenue that you should look for, the first resources that you should tap into, when you have a challenge. So, I left her at home with the 2 kids, carried my little 9-month-old baby, and took off to Atlanta. I was there for 6 months. Well, I didn't quite do the 6 months because the course was supposed to take 6 months. And they had, it was 8 to 4 and 4 to 8 for a full day. So I asked the proprietor if I could do 8 to 8. So I did the morning session and the afternoon session. Resilience, I did the morning session. So I was in school from 8 in the morning with my baby to 8 in the evening. So I cut the time that I needed to do that course from 6 months to 3 months. But even within those 3 months that I was supposed to stay there, most nail technicians are not college graduates. So, the theory part of it, they struggle. So I said to the proprietor, can I read what I'm supposed to? I don't have to be here for 5 weeks or 6 weeks learning, reading or doing classes with people. Can I just read it and take the exam? And he said, yeah. So I took 2 or 3 days, read the entire book, and I told him, I'm ready. Give me the test so I can pass the theory part of it. He was surprised. I said, yeah. He gave me the test. I aced it. So that cut off another 6 or so weeks from my time there. Eventually, I only spent about 9 weeks in the US doing what I was supposed to have done in 6 months. I did 8 to 8. I cut off the 6 weeks I should have done learning the theory. And I came back with my certificate as a nail technician. Came back to Arusha, got 4 girls, trained them, and we opened up the first ever nail studio in Arusha, Tanzania. And so to answer the question, your support system don't have to be out there. They're really, like, if you look closely enough, you can take advantage of what is readily available to you, but you've got to be able to put in the work. I could have just stayed home because my husband was, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, so you shouldn't. No. I said, well, if the problem is who is going to look after the children, your mother is the perfect vessel, So, I didn't like that. So that was one experience that I had in trying to pursue a dream that I really wanted to accomplish, and it worked out perfectly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Antomogalo. And as the saying goes, if you want to go first, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Thank you for sharing your story. I would love to bring Professor Grange and Ms. Mogalo into the next question together. What advice would you give younger women trying to navigate cultural expectations, ambition, leadership, and visibility in today's world? We're going to allow Professor Grange to carry on first, and then Ms. Mogalo second. Professor Grange, the floor is all yours, please.
Mommy, you are muted. You're still muted. So let's see. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. The question of advising the younger generation, I thought I had actually addressed that in my paper. But anyway, let me go back to it. The younger generation, I believe, are faced with quite a number of a number of different type of problems which we did not experience. They have distractions, a lot of distractions from their family circle. They now have to know how to communicate. They communicate. Their communication is more with each other on social media. Let's face it, you know. I have grandchildren here who do not, you know, we don't talk because they're always on their social media talking to their friends, you know. So, you know, they have that problem. I would just like to say that the mothers need to be more aware of the fact that they too have to learn more about the world of the present day generation, you know, because it's different. You know, we live simply, you know. Once we had our 3 meals a day, went to school, came back, and all that, and we had a few friends. But now there's you know, they have a problem in trying to actually juggle with their schedules, you know, at young age. So I would say that the young professionals and mothers need to learn more about the world of the present generation before they can actually assist them, and before they can assist themselves too. You know, you are expected to be able to cope with your home life as well as your professional life and all that. And the temptation is there to say that, okay, now the home life may be easier because you've got some, you have maybe somebody to help you look after children when they're young, but when they're becoming adolescents and young adults, that's when the problem really begins now. Yeah. So it's very important that we should ourselves learn how to cope with the demands of motherhood, mothering those who are at that age. You know, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. In the past, we didn't have a problem once we brought up our children to go to college. You know, the fact that they were coming from similar backgrounds helped them to you know, to adapt and to interact well, and it did not give us much anxiety after that. But now the anxiety continues well into maybe when they may probably get married, you know. So it's not so it's not so difficult for us to know that we have to keep up with what is happening with the current generation. And also at the same time, we need to keep up with our knowledge of our own profession or business, and everything else. So, but it's a shift from a simple demands of nurturing to actually a more complex way of managing children and the family and the home. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mommy, for this motherly advice. And Ms. Magalu, please over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Grange, for that. So my advice to the younger women would obviously, as Dr. Grange has said, is that, you know, as parents ourselves, we have to recognize that they are living under different a totally different environment from what we had. There's so many conflicting cultural influences, even for people who are living in Nigeria. The influence of social media, the internet, they're exposed to so much. So that my first advice would be balance, navigating the new world and still trying to maintain some of the values and beliefs that we have been brought up with, that we're trying to imbibe, trying to pass on to the younger generation. So there's a big balance is required. And another thing I would say is that especially young women, they must learn how to self advocate for themselves in whatever situation they find themselves in. For me, living out here, I find that particularly in the health, aspect, if you don't, as a woman first, and then as a Black woman, if you don't speak up for yourself, a lot of things are going to be not done, right by you. Particularly in the area of pain management. A lot of the healthcare industry, they tend to minimize the pain that women feel. I'll tell a personal story of something that happened to me many years, and in fact, it's happened to me 3 times, the same experience. The first one was when I was living in Croatia. My husband was with the mission in Croatia. So we lived in a small city called Osijek. Now, when we got there, I got pregnant. And at some point during the journey, I had a miscarriage. Now, my husband was away because it wasn't a family duty station. But because when he made that, when we had that agreement that I was going to stay at home, one of the things we agreed was that no matter where he was going to take the family with him. So when the Croatian thing wasn't a family duty station, but the authorities allowed them to keep their families in a city that was about maybe 2.5 hours or 2 hours away from the actual duty station. So a lot of the UN wives were living in this little town called Osijek while they were in Vukovar, which was the actual duty station. So I was alone at home and taking a shower, a bath. I was sort of soaking in the bath of my baby. I had my son who was just about 1, and I was about maybe 5-6 months pregnant at this time. Yeah. But, so I was in the bath and I started bleeding. So I noticed that the water was turning, red. Now, I don't speak the language, I didn't know how to, get medical help. But fortunately for me, our landlady had offered herself to also be the housekeeper. And usually she would do everything and leave around maybe 5-6. But on this particular day, as God will have it, this was around 7:30. She had put Toby to bed, my first son. She had cleaned up, done everything. And I thought she had left. And so I went to take a bath. And so I was confused. I didn't know what to do. She came up and was calling my name. And I'm like, oh my God, Mrs. Nada hasn't left. So I called her. She came and saw what was going on. She's like, oh. She brought me out of the water, made me lie down, put my legs up, Then I think she shook and realized that it was too late for all of that because I was really bleeding. So she called her son and they took me to the hospital. So now here is where this thing comes in. And the doctor is like, oh, we've just gone through a war. And so we're going to have to do a procedure because you've lost the baby. And I'm thinking, oh, are you going to give me some medication or so? He said, oh, no, that here, Then he said to me, where are you from? I said, I'm Nigerian. He said, what part of Nigeria? I said, the East. Oh, he said, yeah, he knows Biafra. He was part of the Medicine Sans Frontier. Why am I asking for medication? Biafran women were having children, in the bush. And I'm like, hello? I am not a Biafra. woman having a child in the bush. I am a modern woman in a city, asking for some sort of, so I said, no, you cannot do anything on me without some sort of pain relief, He said, oh, well, we'll just give you a little something, but here, and before I could say Jack Robinson, I was a little woozy, and it was probably the worst experience of my life. He went ahead and did what he needed to do just because he thought, this is an African woman, she's used to pain. Why is she here asking for pain medication? Okay, fast forward a few years later, we're in Switzerland, and something fell on my big toe, and it was, almost fell off. Again, I went to the hospital. I met this white guy, and I'm like, please, before you pull it up, give me some medication to numb the toe. Again, where are you from? I'm Nigerian. What part? From the east. Oh, Mason Sun Frontier. I'm like, oh my God, not again. The Biafran woman, how many children have you had? He said. I said 4. Oh, and you're worrying about me pulling out your toenail. If I could say, while he was having this conversation, he yanked off, my toenail. So you have to speak up for yourself, because many stereotypes and assumptions will be made, about you. So you need to be able to self-advocate. Another advice I would give would be to be authentic. You don't have to abandon your heritage and your culture and everything just to fit in to what your current situation or your environment is. These are some of the things that have shaped you and made you who you are. They may be cultural, they may be religious, So you have to always remember who you are and where you're coming from. And then, of course, there is the challenge that we have now, that our children are learning to earn money from different avenues that were hitherto not known to us: social media, content creators, things like that. So sometimes you have pushback from your family. We all want our children to be lawyers and doctors and engineers, and but it's a different society, and it's a different world that we're dealing with. But I still caution respect in communicating this new ideas to your family and to your parents, to explain to them where you're coming from, how these things are different, and choose the right time, choose the right place, and use the right words to explain to them, so that they can understand the new ways and the new lines that are available to you, and offer the support that they can to you as well. And of course, manage your expectations, both for yourself and from their own side. And then, of course, another advice I would give would be to observe your environment and learn to adapt. When you move maybe to a new place or to a new job, you have to learn that there are different cultures. If you've moved from Nigeria to the US, for example, the workplaces are managed differently. The ethos, or the way things are done are different. There's now an issue of inclusive language. Some people prefer to be advised as she, he, they, whatever. Pay attention to these little nuances wherever you are, so that you don't come across as maybe ignorant or disrespectful. And then the biggest advice I would give is managing the internal hurdles. Sometimes that's the biggest obstacle: the self-doubt, the am I good enough, or I want to be perfect, so manage those things that might come at you from within. And finally, don't be afraid to ask for help. It isn't a sign of weakness. Nobody knows everything. Even as we're here, I've learned so much from what everybody else has said today. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Find mentors that have similar values. And so it's not about just mentorship. Is the person, are your core values aligned with the person that you want to be your mentor, so that you're not getting conflicting messages, and you try to change yourself just because, oh, this is my mentor, this is what that person believes. But they're not really things that genuinely align with what you think or what you believe. So find mentors that are aligned with your own beliefs and your values. And yeah, I think maybe the last thing is always remember to set firm boundaries. If you do not have boundaries, people will walk over you or do things that you don't want. So respectfully set boundaries, whether it is at home, with friends, community, in the workplace, wherever you are. It's important to set boundaries and respectfully communicate these boundaries to whoever you're dealing with. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mami Grange, for highlighting the need for balance. And Mrs. Mogalu, so much. Thank you for sharing those personal stories. And thank you for highlighting the need for us to advocate for ourselves, for us to be authentic, for us to ask for help, set boundaries a lot. That was like a really packed response. Thank you so much. Okay, these questions are intertwined, but right now I want to I'd love to hear both your perspectives, Professor Akilu and Auntie Emisi. What kind of support do women need today in 2026? And do you think those needs differ across generations? I'll start with you, Professor Akilu.
Thank you. And it's such a great question. So yes, I think support that young women need today is probably a little bit different from the support that our generation needed and required, because things have changed. Society is very, very different. And I think Professor Grage was very articulate in explaining how perhaps the changes between us and our parents were not so big in comparison to the changes between us and our children or young people your age. It's navigating almost a whole new world where we are all operating in deserts of misunderstanding or limited understanding, because the world has changed at such a quick pace. Young people are able to adapt because they are part of this new world, and we haven't been so agile in adapting. So very often there's a clash in terms of needs. We don't always know what young people need, and young people also don't know what to ask from us. We always have there are bigger communication gaps. I think the digital space has not helped. We have a generation of people who grew up in digital spaces, and we're analog. So the language that we used to speak to each other is almost like being on different sides of an ocean. Having said all that, I think that to bridge this gap, communication becomes very, very important. A lot of young people say we don't listen. I think we listen, maybe we just don't hear, because we don't quite understand the language, the emotional language. So I think we need to be both kind to ourselves intergenerationally, for younger people to also understand that we're here, we want to support. Sometimes we don't always have the new language that support requires, or we don't always know what is the best form of support. So I think when you, and support is so much more complex. I think also, Professor Grace, I don't mean to keep spotlighting you, but I think you said something that's very profound about psychosocial support. Psychosocial and mental health needs are much, much greater than they were in our generation. And this is also an area that we have to navigate. A lot of times we don't completely understand mental illness or psychological distress. For example, when our children come and maybe they're struggling with anxiety or depression, our knee-jerk reaction is like, well, what's going on? You have everything. Come on, buckle up. This is not, you're just spoiled and indulgent. and they don't see it. They see that they're having a genuine problem that needs to be addressed. So I'm not quite sure that I'm articulating what the support needs are, but I think a platform like the Matriarch Circle can begin to help us all unpack by listening to each other to see what kind of support needs are needed. I think when we were young, there was an expectation, and I hope the others can also speak to their experience, the other speakers, that we just get on with it. We talked about resilience. We're supposed to just be strong and get on with it, but it's not like that today. So a lot of us didn't have permission to ask for a wide range of support. Sometimes we didn't even know what that looked like because we're told to be quiet, to be good, to work hard, to do so many things. And young people today in a world, thank God, where they are allowed to express themselves so much better, to articulate needs. So I think what I will say is that this is a conversation that needs to keep going so that we have a better understanding on how best we can support young people. Of course, we can support them by mentoring them. We can support them by teaching them from our own experiences so that they don't make some of the mistakes that we made. We can support them by being there for them, by helping build their confidence, and really because so many of us have been in spaces that they are now navigating, to really show them that they can also get into those spaces and really perform even much better and much higher than us. The sky is the limit. There's so many opportunities and so many doors open to them. So I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Auntie Yemisi.
Thank you, Fatima, for that very comprehensive response, which I will kind of edit to my own experience later. I just want to touch on one of two things that I think haven't been articulated in this conversation, which I think we're getting to the last bits, right? And I just wanted to emphasize some of the barriers that still confront women, religious concepts, that tell us that the world is an evil place, money is evil, ambition is terrible, those barriers that stops you from self-expression to maximally step into who you are, and the fact that misogyny, is still very ripe, and women and society have raised men to believe that men are superior to women, I mean. So how do we combat that? And professionally, we've talked about the constraints of childcare, the fact that we have to look after the home, look after the children, and all of that. How do we encourage women to go from get-go into sectors that will give them that space to start their own business, to become more entrepreneurs, to kind of understand the new environment that is a reality of for women these days. And unless they have those entrepreneurial skills, like Miss Mogalu, who had to, nail technology or whatever it is, it becomes a challenge. So how about when you're still a young girl going into university, planning a career, to think around those issues? And then the identity issues. I still think that as an African woman, we have not fully come into our space. I mean, my family helped tremendously because we have an Afrocentric culture. I'm always preaching, patronizing made in Nigeria goods, supporting the local economy, because unless we as individuals, those of us here, become this advocate for understanding who we are as Africans, understanding that we cannot be in Indian suit and British tie and shirt, and be, talking like a proud African. we have to begin to step into our Africanness and dominate it. And the concepts that really helped me about the nobility, enterprise, courage, and creativity in the African race kept me grounded in the pride and majesty of the Black race. I don't see the African woman yet owning that space and rejoicing proudly in it. The knowledge that Africa is the cradle of mankind. Africa has a rich culture and tradition that births nations. And of course, all of you who've listened to Fela's songs know that he enshrined much of this in his culture. And of course, our strong ethics and values are the things that we must continue to strengthen, that will prevent us from straying too far from the internal anchor of who we really are, and always keeping the needs of the people, the brotherhood, the sisterhood of mankind. Ubuntu is the African culture, not individualism or whatever else the Europeans or Chinese or the Eastern. As Africans, we believe in supporting each other. And patriotism is a central goal that made it possible to maintain pride in the identity. And the good parts of our tradition must be maintained. There are some bad parts, like genital mutilation or some stuff that in the past people thought was good, but is not good. And we have to get rid of that. But the good parts, which strengthens equity, justice, love, peace, prosperity, and development, must continue to be strengthened amongst us. And let's find those support systems. The ones that were in the past, finding that inner strength and connection with our maker, understanding that we are the architects of our own soul and masters of our destiny, and that the buck stops with us. As women, we cannot blame men. We brought these men into the world. We trained them to be who they are. We have no, I see a man looking at me and now folding his arms saying, you brought the men into the world, you trained them. You cannot blame them, continue to blame them for marginalizing you or, putting you in the political office or, making the space for you. So what do we do to make sure that we train our young men and women in a way that will bring equity to our world? I had a family and close friends and soulmates in our journey in life. We find soulmates. I find people like Professor Grange. I found people like Jumoke. People who just, for no good reason, you haven't done anything particularly special, but they just love you. And so we must find people like that we partner with to make our world a much better and more a joyful place to live in. I think there was a lot said about the advice for the younger generations and about the cultural things we now have to navigate. But one of the things I found important, and as a Ransom Kuti, I know I'm different from a lot of women because of my own special environment. And one thing I learned is to be independent. As a person, you must, particularly as a woman, you must be independent, particularly financially and psychologically, and train your children accordingly, because you're going to go one day and they must have the strength to manage this very complex and difficult world that we're in. And understanding the cultural environment we're living in is also important for our children, so that they don't bring the Western culture into the African one. Take the African one, we have to understand how to navigate the different cultures we're living in and learning ways of strengthening and adapting to the positive aspects, like respecting your elders and other people in general. That is an African thing, and if the white man or the European doesn't want to do that, we shouldn't follow because we think their own culture is superior. We have to honor ours and preserve what is working well for us and find ways to improve, overcome the negative practices. I've talked of genital mutilation. And we have to look at evidence-based reasons. You can't just say this thing is terrible, get rid of it. Look for the reason why it's not good, why it is affecting your community negatively. And then it's so important that we collaborate with partners, particularly our men. We brought them into the world, and it's critical for successful outcomes that we come together and have a shared vision of like the kind of world we have. I think we women are very smart and capable. So when we use our feminine intuition, wisdom, and large nurturing hearts, when we work collaboratively using platforms like the Matriarch circles, we will overcome any obstacles. Now, back to the question that I was specifically asked to answer. I think, thank you, Fatima, for making a lot of the strong points that you made. I don't think there's much difference, and I may be wrong. And you're allowed to be wrong on this platform. I hope everybody knows that. My view is that the support people need are not really too different from each other. People want to be loved. People want to be heard. People want people to respond to their needs if they can. So we have to work around those parameters. And the support we need isn't too different from what the woman in the past needed in terms of psychological support, love, financial support, friendship. All those things are universal. But what's different now is that women need sound education. You have to be an educated, it's not allowed anymore to say, oh, you find a husband, somebody will marry you. No, education is a critical factor in getting women out of whatever challenge that they may have. And then access to resources, the money to do the business, the levers of production. In the past, in the African evolution, women were side by side. Women worked in the field, men went hunting, whatever it is. There's a very wonderful book I think I'll recommend to everybody about the role of the sexes over millennia and how sometime, in the past, women were this, women were that. But it's not like it's a set in stone thing. It's a response to the economic and environmental issues around us. So we have to be able to adapt similarly to such challenges as we move forward. And education is critical. Access to resources is critical. Understanding the levels of production is very important. And we must educate our sons and daughters in a more inclusive and balanced way so they can support each other. No human being is superior to another. Let's all get that clear. Nowhere is it written that one gender is superior to another. So we must educate our sons and daughters in a more balanced, inclusive way so that they can support each other. And we're just born into superior circumstances, not superior to anybody. And as being superior in those circumstances is a reason for you to serve others, not to behave like the superior being. So depending on our various circumstances, our sons and daughters must collaborate effectively to build a world where love, compassion, respect for each other, and all things created by the Almighty. And we must come together to build a world where truly peace and justice reigns. Thank you. You've given me a lot of time. I hope I have not overstepped that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Prof. Akilu and Auntie Yemisi. Thank you so very much to all our panelists. This has been deeply insightful, honest, and enriching.
We'll now open the floor briefly for questions from the audience. Please raise your virtual hands and we'll call your name and ask you to unmute yourself. Okay, the very first hand I see is Hamdalat. Hamdalat, please go ahead. What's your question? Hamdalat, are you able to?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I really appreciate our mom for this wonderful section. All what they've said so far, it has really been insightful. Really thank you guys so much. My question is for all the panelists, please. What's your advice for a new mom that is just more like at bearing of child stage? Like, how do you balance this with your career? Because sometimes it can just be tiring, like you're trying to do something, your baby is crying, and let me speak for myself. I only have one child for now, and I can't imagine when they are 3 or 4 how I'm going to cope. So I just want your advice, because I know you guys have been through this and how you're able to handle this situation properly. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Hamdalat. Okay, I'll let Professor Akilu answer this. I see that she has a hard stop at 9:10, so we'll get her thoughts and then get the thoughts of other panelists.
Thank you so much. First of all, congratulations. You started a very beautiful journey. What I would say to you is that reach out for help any way that you can. I think Mrs. Mogalu gave us an example of how her mom helped when she absolutely needed someone to help. I think we as women should really give ourselves permission to understand we can't do it all. We need an army, we need support, and we need to be able to say, I need help. I need someone to, whether it's to help me carry the baby while I sleep. I'm not quite sure what your situation is, because I don't want to speak out of turn, because I do understand that some people are working or living in places that are far away from support structures. But I think also I hope that you're in a situation that your spouse is also able to help. And that's something that we don't talk about enough. It's always assumed that women should do the lion's share of child rearing and looking after children. But I think husbands also have a big responsibility, and they should be able to step in. And be kind to yourself. Make sure you prioritize self-care. And I will also say that it's going to get easier. As the children grow older, it becomes a lot easier. At least that's what I found in my own experience. I'll just say again, just make sure that you do all the things that you need to do in terms of your own personal healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. I see that we're already 2 hours plus in. I don't see any other hands up. So as we begin to close tonight's conversation, I think many of us can agree that what we've experienced here tonight was more than just a panel discussion. Amina?
This is indeed a reminder of the power of women gathering intentionally across generations in order to share wisdom, tell the truth about their journey, and help shape the future together.
Yes.
We have 2
The
hands
vision
up,
of
ladies.
the sorry?
Chairman, we have 2 hands up. We have Mrs. Osime and I think a lady called Joke. Their hands are up.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll take those hands. We'll take Mrs. Osime. Please go ahead, ma.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I think this has been just really outstanding as far as, coming from my space. I'm so grateful to hear all the things I heard today, because I was beginning to wonder. And that's why I put there that the values that we were brought up in, I have a school, and I've had a school for 25 years, and generation after generation, I just see that things are just going south. So I'm just so happy that we have this forum, and all of the things that were spoken about today just reinforced in me that definitely, we have a lot of hope in Nigeria. And I believe that this forum is so important because a lot of people haven't been spoken to like this. They don't even know. When you speak to young people, some of their parents didn't have the same background, and I have to sort of become their mother all the time. So I think this is so critical that we continue to speak and talk to the younger people, that the way we were brought up and the way we turned out, that's why we turned out the way we turned out. And that's why I'm so happy that I've had what I had today. And it just encourages me, because it's become a bit discouraging, because year after year after year, we have the young people coming and it's just not nice. So if as much as possible, the kind of what we've spoken about today, we can take it to different places, record it, put on YouTube, and let young mothers and young parents actually hear this. I think we'll build a better society. I just wanted to add and say thank you so much to everyone that spoke today. It was really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. I see Professor Grange's hand up. I don't see Joke here, but
yes,
Ma.
yes, please. Just a second. I promise you I won't be long. I just picked up on one very important aspect of a support system, which we always ignore. The husband is also supposed to be part of the support system, but we've been so intimidated by the expectations of being a man and not being directed by a woman that, we just don't ask. I believe that maybe by giving support to our younger ones that aren't getting the men also involved and educated, we will be able to get their support in the homes. Let me give you a very, story that I remember with regards to Professor Olikoye Ransom Kuti. Just to let you know that a man who knew so much, who was so, revered and, great, used to tell us that their children would come prematurely. So he felt that he had to help. And his wife would express the breast milk while he feeds the baby using the bottle or cup and spoon or something. So that is something that he took on voluntarily as the high and mighty man in the home. The second thing that he told us about was that he always made his own bed. How many men can boast of doing something consistently in the home for themselves so that they can ease the burden on their wives? I believe we need to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. I see Rhoda's hand up. Rhoda, please go ahead.
I think Joke Odumade,
yes.
she has
Yes,
unmuted.
No. Okay. So good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good
Am I
evening.
audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Thank you so much, Mommy. I'm very glad to be part of this meeting, and all the section has been wonderful. I'm grateful that I'm here this night, and because this is my heart outcry to see how we can save this society, especially this younger generation. And all the session has been speaking in line with what is in my heart. But I think my first question is, apart from this Zoom meeting, because I was introduced by a friend, because I have an NGO for women where I've been advocating on how to change the narrative in the society. So that person has been, he has been a supportive person to me. So it was one that connected me to this. So apart from this Zoom meeting, I want to believe that it's not going to end here. I don't know whether we're going to have a WhatsApp group where we'll be interacting, so that if you have any challenge, we can bring it up and then we get advice from our mommies. That's my first question. And the second question is, I want to talk about what Mrs. said. He was talking about when we are moving from the military to the the democratic session, that we didn't have any capable hand, to handle our politics, political space. We didn't have enough, capable hand, which is really the problem we have now. Now, those people will even say they're not capable now. Many of them, they are getting older. So those people that we take over from them now, are we really preparing them, or do we have enough? I've really built into them what it takes to take the position of leadership, because that's the problem. And me has been advocating on how to get right people in position, because you can see that what we cherish when we're growing up has been going down. The culture, the value we cherish has been going down. And so I've been speaking to my women on how we can change the narrative. In fact, I'm even organizing this year August will be my second year of me setting up this NGO, and we are planning to celebrate it again. And the theme of that program is women as a change agent. I believe women can change the narrative of what is happening in the society. So coming to this space and listening to our mommies with all their experience, I'm so glad. So I don't know how we can collaborate, because we just have to help. We can't just leave this war without changing the whole thing. Because if we leave this war without changing our children, it won't be. I don't think they have the capacity, because we know where we're coming from. We know how it was, and we know what it is now. So our children didn't experience what we saw, in the past. So if you now leave this situation for them without fixing the society, I'm not sure they will forgive us. So I don't know how we can do. We need to do more. We need to do more. And that's why I called the team of my program as women as the positive change agents. So I don't know how we can collaborate, how we can work together, so that by the time we are living this world, we can live a better society for them. We can live a society that when we will be able to have a restful, time with God over there. So that's my heart cry. So I don't know how we can work together to make this thing happen. I'm so glad that you people, the vision is already there. So how we can now collaborate to make it happen in our day before we leave this earth. So that's my question this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Auntie Yemisi, and thank you, Mrs. Mongalu. I really enjoy all the experience people have shared. Thank you so much. So that's my question. Thank you, ma.
Okay, thank you so much. Because of time, I will just summarize. That's why we have this Matriarch circle, and so we encourage you to stay connected to us. We have a WhatsApp group, but this is just our very first inaugural meeting. But we're going to have future conversations, so we would encourage you to join our community, invite other women into the community, and yeah, there's so many benefits
How do I
of
join the
joining the
community?
circle.
I'm going to join the WhatsApp. How
Okay,
do I do? Are they going to add my number to this? Please do
okay,
that, please.
okay,
Good evening,
Adele.
ma'am. There's a link on the chat box. Please just fill the form. We'll add it to the WhatsApp group.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma.
we'll share the link again. Thank you so much. Okay, I see Rhoda's hand. Rhoda, please, due to time, can we just keep it to 1 minute so that we can wrap up? Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rhoda Francis. I joined from the United States. A friend of mine just sent this link and said, "Oh, go ahead and join." And I did. I've been here for 2 hours, and I'd like to say thank you to every panelist. Like, everyone came with substance. I appreciate everyone, and I've really learned a lot. When we started, there was something Auntie Yemisi said, and when she said that, I kind of had, it was like an ache in my heart. I was like, okay. And this is a good thing, actually, but I did not receive it well. This was when she was applauding the pastor, and she said, "Thank you for allowing us women to, have a space and all that." In my head, I'm like, well, why do the men need to allow us? We are not allowing them. Everyone has a voice, or should be able to use their voices. But then along the line, towards her closure, or something else she said, every gender. And I said to myself, I said, okay, because this is maybe one of the reasons why some women are just reluctant to act. Maybe this is why some people feel like they cannot really, be themselves, because yes, they have to be allowed. But it was a cool thing to hear that, okay, that we all can actually become, and we all should actually strive towards that. And then something else that I think it's Professor Grange said. This was when she was addressing the young mother who talked about how she was struggling with, and it's okay to get the men involved. And I totally agree with that, because I'm into relationship. I'm into, coaching people relationship wise and all that. And I realized that we're definitely lacking in terms of relationship skills. Like, people just grow up, get married. People don't know what they're expected to do or what they're even supposed to receive. Nothing. And it was a good thing to hear that we should actually include the husbands, involve them. Parents, while we're raising our children, raise them equally. Let the male child, the boy child, understand that, okay, I have this responsibility towards my girl, my sisters, or, eventually my wife, as it were, so that this balance that we're talking about, it will be something that we started from scratch to inculcate into everyone, because I don't want to just say the male child. So that at the end of the day, this shape that we're trying to get the whole Africa, we will shape mankind in such a way that we will be proud of ourselves. So I'll just stop there. I want to say thank you so much once again to everyone, and thank you for allowing me to even air my view. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Thank you. Auntie Yemisi, your hand is up.
Yes, guys, thank you so much. It's been such an interesting evening, right? The young lady that talked about children needing some support, her needing support with young children. One of the things I have found is that when you have a challenge, you turn it into a business. And a lot of young women that I know started a nursery so that they are now looking after other people's young children and getting staff to come in and help both the children and your children and the children in either the neighborhood or whatever group that you have. So that's another idea. I'm sure other ideas will pop into your head as you think about ways to solve that problem. The right people in politics, the lady who asked that question, we've always said the best way is to get involved yourself, join the political parties, and make the changes from within. If we had that, they say there are more women in Nigeria than men. I don't know how true that is because all our statistics are a little bit off kilter anyway. But if the number of women that are in Nigeria are in the political parties, we will definitely make changes. So let's get involved, join the political parties, engage effectively, and bring those values that we think we need to inculcate into our political and public space. Not just complain about it. If you are there and there's a critical mass of people that think it is wrong to rig, it is wrong to do this, it will soon end very quickly, actually. So let's join in our large numbers. The Rhoda, thank you for pointing it out, the way it came out. When I said Pastor Ito allowed us, I always praise. I never turn down any good thing that comes my way, whether it is allowed to me or given to me or permitted to me. I always say thank you because I come from the private sector. In the private sector, you say thank you, ask a little bit more, and you get even more reward. So let's continue to thank the men, either they allow us or embrace us or whatever it is they do that gives more momentum to our objectives. We must thank them and encourage them so that others will also say, oh, it's not such a bad thing. Because let me tell you for real, for sure, most men are afraid of women. They've been under the thumbs of their mothers. They've escaped from that one. They are afraid of the wife who is obviously, whether they like it or not, has the domain of the home. She has the control of her children. And they know inside them that if she turns those children against them, they're up the creek without a paddle. So we have to recognize that it's not that men don't want to give us permission. Men may be afraid to do so. Men are also understand themselves more than you can imagine. They know where the weaknesses are. And as much as possible, it's in their interest to keep the current status quo going. But in the long term, they also know that it's better for their daughters to be educated, for their daughters to get encouragement, to get opportunities to be who they want to be. So let's manage the situation in such a way that together we are winners. Thank you very much, Rhoda, for that question.
Thank you so much, Auntie Yemisi. Time really does fly when we're having fun. We're 2 hours, 23 minutes in. So I would like to call Auntie Jumoke up now to talk a little bit about the vision for the Matriarch Circle and to guide us as we take our pledge. Auntie Jumoke.
Let me first start with thanking the Queen Mothers and the queens and all the princesses here. And we use that title because of who we are, not because of what we have, just because of who we really are. We are royalty, and I think that identity is very important. I can't thank my mothers enough, and I always say they're the ones that inspire, encourage, and the wind behind a lot of our sail. And Auntie said, when we first started this, I want to go back to something Auntie said. Maybe you don't remember. It was like, we're not looking for a feminist group. That's not what this is about, because we need men allies. We are not here. I'm not one of those that believe what a man can do, a woman can do. I don't change tires. I am feminine. I'm not going to break my nails. But we all understand our strengths and we complement each other. We are not to compete with women. We don't compete with men. We understand our own uniqueness and the importance of collaboration, bringing our strengths together to achieve that common purpose. And it brings me back to what Mrs. Mogalu was talking about when we first spoke a few weeks ago. I can't even remember how long we spoke for. And it was the importance of respecting every woman, regardless of what her position is, whether she's running an empire, whether she's selling rice, whether she's nurturing children, whatever, we're just as important because of the gifts and the value that we bring to the table. Because without each other, we can't accomplish anything. Without that woman that is selling tomatoes in the market, you are not going to be able to feed your children. Without that teacher that is teaching, we can't do all the things that we do. So this is our cry to every woman, to understand that your role here is not to compete with anyone. It is to bring out the best version of yourself. And we thrive in an environment where we're supportive. We thrive in that environment where we're pushing each other up. Because as you're pushing the other person up, you are also rising up. And I think that's something we should never forget, that our role here is not to be crabs, but how do we build together? I probably will not become a senator, but I can encourage, inspire someone whose interest it is to be a senator, that can help shape policies that would impact me, that will impact you as a woman. So we need to think holistically and globally that one person, one woman that is empowered means a lot of women that are empowered. And the second thing I want us to think about is that you're mentoring, whether directly or indirectly. Long before I became close to Auntie Emisi and Professor Grange, they were my mentors. Long before I met a lot of women that I'm using their stories or their lives to inspire myself, they were my mentors. So we must conduct ourselves as women of influence wherever we are. Dignity and respect, Auntie talks about that a lot. Being a strong woman doesn't mean that we're disrespectful. We don't need to be disrespectful to put our points across. And as you can be strong and feminine at the same time, nothing takes away from that. So that's what we're doing here at the Matriarch Circle, really building each other. And we believe that this is the way to go. Support women whatever you choose to do. How can we support you? How can we help you to be the best version of yourself? Is it through conversations? Is it through hard conversations? Because there are times that we would have those hard conversations. But what is the goal? The goal again is to build. The goal is to nurture, not to condemn, not to bring anyone down. Successful women, great, but we are all successful in our own rights. We are successful in everything that we have chosen to do, because you are the one that sets the goal for that success. So that for me is my own heart cry personally. And I just want to thank all those that, I look up to, all those that have really created that space to say, don't be afraid to be strong. Don't be afraid to be bold and courageous. Don't be afraid to be present. Because Nigerian women, we tend to kind of shy away. We almost like we're afraid. We don't want people to think we're this, be bold and courageous. That's one of the reasons I am able to step out, because I see bold and courageous women that stand not for their own personal benefit, but for communal gains, for the building of the community. And when you're bold and courageous, when you are showing up, when you are present, you're also teaching not just your girls, but your boys also on what it is to be present, to be committed and dedicated, and to serve. So we invite you to join the Matriarch Circle, TriAfrica Empowerment Foundation, the Matriarch Circle. And I will end with this. I always joke around that when God created Adam, he went, oops, and then quickly created Eve. We must not forget our position as nurturers and builders. It comes naturally to us. We are gifted with that. And it's not just to your immediate family that you're called to build or to nurture. You're called to nurture that child down the street. I think it was Auntie that was talking about that. You're called to nurture a community, your community, because when your community is strong, you are strong. So those are some of the things that we're doing here. We are in the works. We are in the planning stages of workshops, mentorship, our WhatsApp group. We have different coordinators. And I think just listening to Chioma and Amina, we want them to take that center stage. We want them to be the ones that drive this conversation. And for me, I know there's some more work we need to do with them to project their voices, to project their voices, not to be shy to speak, so those are some of the things that we're looking for women to support us, and men. It's not a women-only journey. We need men allies. Without the men, we can't do it. That's the truth. It's not that we need permission, but they are already at the table, and they also have to make space at the table. And you can, what is it? It's easier to catch flies with honey than with vinegar. We are not out here to fight anyone to take the space. We just want to sit at the table. We want to be invited. We want to also be present when that invitation comes. So that's my own closing remark. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We're looking at doing this every month, having this conversation. We chose Sunday because it's a relaxing day. It's getting ready for the week. Hopefully the next sessions will be less than 3 hours long. We'll keep it to 2 hours, but we think it's a good way to really think and plan for the week. We're going to be doing it towards the end of the month. Again, setting goals for the next month. Those are some of the thoughts that we have. And Mommy Grange always says something that she's still learning. And learning is continuous. So we're going to keep learning from each other. But respect is something that we really promote, is something that is non-negotiable. Respecting each other, respecting our views, just presenting ourselves with grace and elegance is non-negotiable, because that's who we are. And so there's our vows. I don't know, Adele, can you project our vows to one another, or should I? If you guys want me to project it, I can do that. And if you listen to these vows, I think it's important because of what it says. Let me project it so that we can all look at it, and I'm not the only one reading out to you. So our vows to one another. If you don't already have the concept note for the Matriarch Circle, we'll go ahead and also post that, or we will send it to you as well. So this is our vows to one another and to every woman, whether you're in this Matriarch Circle or not. This is the creed by which we live by. This is our core values. We believe that the greatness of a nation begins in the home, where values are formed, character is shaped, and vision is nurtured from the very first breath. We recognize women as powerful nurturers, mentors, and role models whose influence extend far beyond the family into communities, institution, and the story of the nation itself. We affirm that the family is the bedrock of a society. When women are supported to lead, to mentor, and to guide, stronger families emerge and stronger nations follow. We commit to lifting one another, to sharing wisdom across generations, to opening doors for younger women to rise with courage, integrity, and purpose. We will challenge every barrier. We will challenge every barrier that limits women's full participation in leadership and nation building while remaining rooted in the values that strengthen families and communities. We believe that mentorship is a sacred responsibility. Every woman who has walked ahead must clear the path for those who follow. And lastly, because when women nurture leaders, nations rise. So that's our closing remark. That's our parting words with you. We thank you all for being part of this maiden event. And we look forward to interaction, to hearing more ideas of how we can build this, and every woman becomes a Dorcas or part of this Matriarch circle. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mommy Grange, Queen Mother. Thank you, Auntie Yemisi, Queen Mother, and thank you, Mrs. Mogalu, another queen, and thank you to Dr. Akilu, Princess and a queen, and to Princess Choma and Princess Amina, Princess Adele, Princess Ngozi, and to all our wonderful founding queens and queen mothers and princesses. Thank you for making this happen. God bless you.
Thank you very, very, very much. God bless you too.
Thank you and good
And
night.
God bless us all.
Amen.
And thank you to our male participants. I just loved seeing them laughing and enjoying all our interventions. God bless you.
Thank you,
so
Pastor Lu, who's been here from the beginning. I know we've been going back and forth with comments. Thank you, Dr. Charles. And thank you, Mr. Felix. Every one of you, our male allies, will be calling on you.
Yes, so it's nice to have our brothers in the ring.
Yes. Yes. Thank you all
so much. God bless you.
God bless you all. Have a good evening.
Have a good night. And it was lovely to see Amina, who was shy at the beginning.
Yes.
We saw your face now. You're looking beautiful. And Choma.
Always, yes. Amina, we are not going to let you turn off your camera again. No.
Thank you guys for moderating so excellently well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, all the panelists. That was really beautiful.
Thank you, Queen Mother Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you, Jumoke. Thank you.
Thank you.
More grace to your elbow.
To all our elbows. Thank you all. Yes. So same time, and Miss Udumade, if you put your contact information there, we'll be in touch with you. And yes, there are opportunities. We're looking to collaborate with all women, support one another. There's no point reinventing the wheel. So whatever it is that other women are doing, how we can rally around to support, that's what we are all about.
Indeed.
So Ngozi and Adele, get ready. I guess you guys are next for the next session, right? Thank you for manning the chat room.
Thank you so very much, Auntie Jumoke.
You're welcome, sweetheart. God bless you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a wonderful week.
Bye. You too.
Auntie, you're looking so. I said this, my auntie. I better shape up because those earrings are giving.
You have a great memory.
You have one life. You have to
thank
chop it
you.
very well. God
Thank
bless
you,
you,
Mrs. Ajuma. Thank you for joining us. We are glad you could join us here.
Bye.
So, bye. Have a good night. God bless.
Good night, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Mrs. Mogalu. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for setting that tone of really holistically women. So thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right.